So today I wanted to talk about a question that I got from a high school kid that I know. He was at my academy for a few weeks. Not wasn't there much. We didn't even get to work with him much to have a real opinion about his game or to really understand, his game and what he needed. But um, he texted me this morning and he was saying, "Hey, I'm playing AAU right now." Now he's a junior, so he's going to be a senior. So we're right now in the spring. Spring is junior year. So he's like, "Hey." Um, I'm not getting a lot of minutes on this AAU team. And, at this point, I'm trying to think, should I just quit the team and just come train with you guys and try to get prepared for high school, or should I stay playing AAU because of the exposure? And so this is really about the exposure in AAU and does it matter or not? So let me put, and this is what I said to this kid, so if you are not a for sure college level player, and, as a junior, he didn't start on his team and barely played in high school. So he is not a college player. He's not a college level player. I don't care what his skill set or ability or potential might be. Right now, he's not a college level player. And so what I said to him is, I said, listen, man, as far as exposure, I said, exposed to what? I said, if you're not getting into high school, you're not getting in your AAU games, there is no exposure because you're not a college player right now. Now, if you want to try to play, let's say maybe Division III ball, I said, then, if you want to come work with us, great, we'll help you for sure. But I said, in general, I said, there's nothing wrong with playing with your AAU team. Understand that. You could play on your AAU team. I said, but you just need to work in general and change your mindset. You just need to get better. Forget exposure. You need to get better so that when your senior year comes around at high school, when in our area, that's where Division III coaches are going to be the most. If you want to play, they're going to come watch your high school games, and you better play well in those high school games if you want to play on their Division III program. So I said, you did better get ready for that. Then if you got to start on that team, and you need to be balling. You need to be. He has two kids on the team that are going to be scholarship players. One's a Division I player. So he needs to be number three. I said, you need to be the third best kid on your team, and you need to be starting. And you need to be balling and playing like the third best kid. And if he does that, he will have a chance. I don't know that it will for sure because he basically hasn't really played. He really hasn't played high school basketball. If you're on the bench, you ain't playing. I'm sorry. You're on the team, but if you're on the bench, you ain't playing. You're not playing high school basketball. You're just on the team. So I said, you just got to get ready for that. So nothing wrong with playing the AAU basketball. You can do it because at the end of the day, it is games. It is a chance to develop in itself because you're older at this point. I don't necessarily believe that when you're young and not any good, but when you're a junior, yeah, this is game experience. Hopefully you can build some confidence, try some things, get over a confidence hump, whatever, there's things that you might have going on that are holding you back mentally. I mean, these are opportunities. These are at bats for you because this shit is coming to an end soon. So you need every at bat you can get. And um, if you are a person who see, I say the exact opposite thing to our kids who are, that like the one kid on this team who is he has a Division I offer. He's clearly a Division I talent. I say the opposite to him. His high school needs him more than he needs his high school team. He fucking quit that high school team. He's still gonna play Division I basketball. All right, if all else fails, he's gonna play college basketball at some level. He could quit the high school team, never go back, not even play his senior year. People like that, we're telling them the opposite. Listen, you'll see that high school program in the fall. Right now, you need to be working your butt off. You need to be spending as much time as you can with us working on your game, on your own, working on your game, and working on your body. And go because we don't do the body side. We don't do the physical side really. So you need to be going to those people to work on your body and do your lifting and all of that shit. You don't need to be messing around with your buddies after school in the gym, going to open gym where there's 7 kids there and it's shirts and skins and you're fucking laughing. Like, that's not what you need. And you damn sure don't need to be doing any, cone drills just to be doing them because your coaches want to feel like they're doing something with, which is great. Thank them for doing that. But that's not what you need. You need basically prep school. You basically need prep school work. You need prep academy work that puts you in position where you can continue to perform every weekend in these AAU tournaments and go out there and do what you need to do for these coaches to see. For kids like that, that's different. But for the kid that texted me who doesn't even start as a junior on his team or doesn't even really get into games, he's complete opposite. He basically needs to put all his eggs in the high school basket because that's all he has left. And he said he's not even getting minutes on his AAU team. And so a lot of people out there might be getting minutes on their AAU team, but they're not doing shit. They're not balling when they're in there. They're not scoring a lot. They're not out there in any type of dominant force. You know what I mean? They're not doing that. So you're especially if you're a junior, all of your eggs need to be in your high school basket. You should be going to all of their workouts, all their open gyms. They play in the summer league, spring league. You need to be doing all of that shit. You need to be in touch with your coach, everything, because your only chance now to do this is that last senior season. That's all you have left. So it's not a thing about people just have to be realistic about the situation. You can't be talking about exposure and divisions and as far as 1, 2, and 3 and different. You can't be talking about none of that stuff if you are not solidly one of the best players in your area. If you're not solidly one of the top kids in your high school league, you're not starting. You can't even we can't even talk about that stuff. Now if you're on one of the best high school teams in the country. Maybe you're the sixth man because there's 4 Division I players starting. That's different. But shit, how many people we running into like that? And this kid I'm talking about, this is not that situation. So I know that this is something that a lot of people can relate to, and a lot of people are completely taking Division III off of their like they have no chance to play college ball because they're thinking about AAU and exposure and things that are completely irrelevant to them because they're just not that good. They're not right now. They're not at that level. So that's completely counterproductive. And you have to understand, hindsight is always 2020, but that's why people like us try to help younger kids. We've been through these things. You have to understand they might be in this situation because they've been thinking like this since the time they were maybe in sixth, fifth, seventh grade. They might have been thinking about AAU and exposure and a bunch of other shit when they weren't even any good then. But yet they were worried about. Now I'm not saying this kid was at all. I really don't even know. But a lot of people are in that boat. They're worrying about all the wrong things when they need to worry about getting better. They're not day in, day out doing the things that they need to do to actually be that good of a player to even have the conversation about exposure in the first place. Exposure shouldn't even come out of your mouth, man. It shouldn't even come out of your mouth until you are a dog. You are hands down one of the best kids around. And, at the time, remember, it was after my sophomore year of high school. I was playing JV basketball. I lettered, I was on the varsity team, but I didn't get in. I didn't play varsity basketball, as a sophomore, even though technically I lettered, but when you're playing 2 minutes at the end of the game and you're beating somebody by 40, I'm sorry, you didn't play varsity basketball. So I was really a JV player and I was good now. And our varsity team, we won their team won the entire league that year. They had 9 seniors. So all those things mixed together, that was why I was a JV player. But really, again, hindsight 2020, I also realized that I wasn't good enough for that coach to say, I don't give a fuck if we got 12 seniors, this kid is playing, So I needed to be better. I wasn't good enough. So, with all that said, I was pretty good. And I had a lot of talent and ability. I mean, I was dunking a basketball by then. I was probably about 5'8", 5'7". I could really shoot, handle. I was quick, especially in our area. I was one of the quickest kids around. So, and one of my assistants, who he played at Kentucky, he was actually, I believe, the first black player to play basketball and graduate from Kentucky. His name is Reggie Warford. He just passed away not long ago. Um, but he said to me one day after an open gym, so this was like April, might not even been April, maybe like March of my sophomore year. He's like, hey, I was coming out of the weight room. He's like, you're a Division I player. And I remember that verbatim. I'm like, huh, really? Because at that time, I wasn't even thinking about that shit. I knew I wanted it was a dream, to do these things, but it never crossed my mind on a daily basis. What division player was I? Where was I gonna play? Was I getting exposed? Did people know about? I didn't give a fuck because I was just so obsessed with basketball. I just wanted to get up every day and work my ass off, and that's why I was walking out of that weight room right then and there. That's what I did. It was a lifestyle. I loved it. I enjoyed just trying to be the best player I could be. I didn't necessarily set a goal to say I want to play Division I basketball. It was like, man, I'm trying to be what if in my question, it was no question I was going to the NBA. It was just I'm trying to be as good as I possibly can. I'm not even worried. I didn't even think about exposure. I didn't think about none of that shit. I didn't think about if coaches were ever watching me. I really had no clue about any of that stuff, to be honest with you. And I didn't start thinking about it until he said that and put it in my head. And he wasn't doing no harm by it. He was just like, to be honest, I forget the conversation. I forget what he said after that. But I know he said, "You're a Division I player. Do you know that?" And I thought about it, and I didn't really know. I had no clue. I didn't know if I was or wasn't or how I'd been thinking. I had no idea, but I knew that I had been working my ass off for the game that I loved, and this was my life. And so, but again, I was at that point. I was talented. I was much better than this kid that we're talking about. I was much better than most kids that we're going to talk about as a sophomore. I was much better than they were. And so if you're not that kid, um, if you're not that kid, you just can't even have those conversations. And even if you are, you probably still shouldn't be so worried about that. And that's why I wasn't, Now don't get me wrong, I didn't even end up playing Division I basketball, and maybe regardless, I was a hard headed kid, and I didn't understand what it meant to even be one, which is probably why I didn't understand what he was talking about right then. But but the point being, even though I was maybe a Division I talent, I still wasn't even worried about no exposure and none of that shit. Because in my mind, I was still young. I was a sophomore. I hadn't proved shit. I wasn't starting on the varsity team. I was playing scrap minutes. So like, the fuck are we talking about? I'm not. I got a lot of work to do, and I think that is the healthiest mindset you can possibly have when going about really anything. To be honest, but we're talking about youth basketball. You need to have the attitude of I'm not there, I got to get better, and you need to do everything in your power on a daily basis to do that. And then as you hit probably that end of that junior year, you should be very realistic about where you are and what's next. Hope you guys got something out of this.